Yo, welcome to the video. Today we have got Ducky in the game with us, and we're going to be answering another big question. And the question is, why does God allow suffering? Why does God allow suffering? And Ducky, I know this question is a really big question, but I'm sure over your life you would have thought about, bad things going on, and I'll actually want to ask you, why do you think that we experience suffering? What is the cause behind suffering? What do you reckon?
I don't know. I mean, kind of goes in like in the beginning we sinned against God and just kind of fell apart in the beginning and stuff. And but I think He allows it to happen a lot because it sometimes draws us closer to Him and teaches us that we can rely on Him more than rely on His understanding better than what the world says about it. Kind of I think it's something that for sure brings us closer to God than most of the time.
Yeah, it brings us closer.
Part.
Yeah, so good. I mean, yeah, definitely. That's definitely true. It does bring us closer to God. Suffering does bring us closer to God. We tend to, when we go through bad things, we have less options, and so we turn to God naturally. That's why oftentimes at the end of people's lives, when they're dying on their deathbed, they go, well, what's the point of everything? And they often look to God, because what other choice do we have? Yeah, definitely. But I guess the question we've got is why does God allow that to happen? Which is an added layer of depth. So we first need to consider why suffering happens, and that is definitely we messed up. We chose to go against God ages ago in the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve. But that's not the only time we've chosen to do that. Every time, every person who's ever lived, except for Jesus, has sinned against God and chosen selfish desires over goodness. And we continue to do that. It's a non-stop thing. We continue to do that. And we continue to choose sin. So suffering is a result of sin. Suffering is a result of sin. When we do bad things, it's not karma. Bad things doesn't come back and hit us. But when we do bad things, it changes us in ways that make it harder to live good lives. And suffering is, I guess, the result of sin. It's not karma. I want to make it super clear, but it's a result. But that's not the only reason that we experience bad things. It's not just because of sin. We also experience bad things because of the devil. The devil is evil, and likes to manipulate us and bring evil things into our lives, which is really sad because it makes life hard for us when we just want to live with God and enjoy relationship with God, and we got the devil over here making it hard. Oh, that's the wrong one to shoot. I need to get you in. So yeah, suffering is two reasons. It's from the sin and from the devil, but it is most definitely not from God, which is why the question is phrased, why does God allow suffering? Which is really good, because some people say, why does God make us suffer? But that is just not good, because God doesn't make us suffer. He allows suffering to be in the world. And there's a couple reasons for this. first reason is if we didn't have a choice to sin, then we would be robots. We would be forced to love God, and that is not what God wants. God wants relationship. You know, I want you to picture a scenario.
Yeah.
If you had a friend, you know, if you locked him in a bedroom, and said, look, I'm gonna the only way I'm gonna let you out of this room and live a life is if you choose to love me in everything you do. And so this person, their decision is either, you know, stay here and have nothing, or life by loving you. So if God didn't give us choice, and we were robots that were forced to love him, like, there's not relationship there. It's impossible to have relationship. And so that's why we have a choice to choose sin, to choose God. You know, to have love, you also have to have separation from love, you know, because love is a self-sacrificial thing. If you can't make that sacrifice, like, what are you sacrificing? If there's no sacrifice, how is it love? And that's the awesomeness about relationship with God, is that it is sacrificial. God sacrificed Jesus. He sacrificed so much more than just Jesus, but like, he created us. He's a reason. But yeah, that's I think it's really good to remember that we need to have the choice to sin, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to choose relationship with God, and God wants for us to choose relationship. But for that to happen, we need to be able to choose sin, which is why we can sin, I guess. But what about the devil? Why does the devil do evil things? What do you reckon? Why does God allow the devil to be around?
Well, like, I've heard, like, my pastor and other people say, is like, the only reason God allows the devil to, like, attack us is because he only gives us what, like, God knows, like, gives us the challenge that he knows that we can fight. He doesn't give us, like, hard challenges that we don't know about. And, like, I think that's kind of like, also, like, in Job, like, God allows the devil to, like, test Job's, like, love and trust in him, kind of. And, like, you see that Job still, like, even though he lost his wife and kids and farm, property and all that, lost everything, he still, like, chooses, he's, like, angry and stuff with God, but, like, he still chooses to love him.
Yeah, that's so good. I think Job is the best example that we can ever have, because he lost everything, and like, suffering, like, as a human, apart from what Jesus experienced. I think Job's suffering is like hard to compare our own lives to, because not many people experience as much as Job did when they suffer. So that's the best example that you could ever have. But yeah, I guess God has a heavenly host of angels, and I didn't know that pushes you down. Interesting. But yeah, if the angels were forced to have a relationship with God, it's the same as us. You know, it's not relationship if you're forced. And so the angels have the choice as well. And Satan's choice was to go against God. And he continually chooses to do that. But God, I guess we already know that God's defeated Satan. But Satan is still in the world, so we know prophecy. But Jesus defeated death. But when we choose Jesus, we choose a world, a heavenly world in heaven, where there is only goodness, there is only God, and sin is not there. It's a holy place. But yeah, I guess when we have those temptations and those trials like Job did, when people around us die, or when things go terribly wrong and we lose everything, it is a trial. It is a trial, and in those times, we said it before, it brings us closer to God. And really that's the best way that we can picture it being a trial, being us closer to God. Anything else, and it doesn't really work. Like, you know, you can think of it as like, oh, karma, or, you know, a wrong for a wrong makes a right. Like, it doesn't work when we think of it like that. Yeah. I want to get this Sprite. But yeah, suffering is definitely a really big thing to question. I wonder, have you ever had like an experience where you had so much suffering in your life that you were questioning whether or not God was good?
I think for me, it was when I lost my best friend and stuff. I was kind of confusing because she was like a really good person, and like she was also really young. She was only 18, and so I think for that I was kind of quite confused, and it was like, at the time when I first heard, I was like, why did God allow this? He should have not allowed this if he's a kind, loving God. But then I guess like throughout, as I flew down back to the state to visit her family and stuff, I really just saw kind of why God kind of allows it, and just like, because there's always a good that comes from it, from all the suffering.
Yeah. We just sometimes struggle to see it. What are you shooting at? Oh, I see them. Yeah. I think if we sometimes choose to kind of choose to forget that God cares, and we choose to ignore the fact that the good things that we have are from God. And so when some bad things happen, we just go, oh wow, God let this bad thing happen to me. What a terrible God.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, that was scary.
Look, he was kind of scared, and I didn't want to clutch up with it.
Oh. There's a thing for you here. Yeah, I remember in my life I had a time where, well, actually here's some stuff. You come here. Yeah, I had a time in my life where something went wrong, and I was really disappointed, and you know, I was like, why is this happening? But in that time, my response was to actually just go closer to God and to seek Him more. And I think that's the kind of response that we need to be having, is one that when we have times of trouble and we have doubts and stuff, like, our response needs to be, okay, God, help me in this. And not, oh God, you're a terrible being, like, why would you let this happen to me? You mustn't be real. When that happens, if we're letting that doubt, like, take over our relationship with God, And we're also forgetting all the good things that God has done for us. Like, even though one thing really bad has happened, God still loves us. Like, we shouldn't forget the fact that, you know, He created us so that we could have a relationship with Him. Yeah, it's like an intentional thing that we should be doing, is trying to remember God's goodness even in the midst of struggle and bad things. They're kind of cracked. Wanna go for a drive? I saw a person on the left side of the bridge. Just one guy. That's crazy. We're cracked.
He was racing his teammate.
Where?
His teammate died, but
Yeah. Well, I had 19 kills. You're kind of cracked as well. You got your one. You did your job. Oh, I found him.
yeah.
Let's go. GG's. Nah, good stuff, bro. Easy win.
Ooh.
Good discussion. Great ideas that you brought to the table, and I think now we can appreciate suffering a little bit better. All right, we'll catch you on the next one. See ya.